everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for joining us. At this time, I would like to convene this meeting of the Board of
Recording in
Trustees.
progress.
Will the Secretary please note the attendance?
A quorum is present.
Thank you. Reminder to everyone that this meeting is being recorded and live streamed for the public by OSU. So that we are able to conduct the business of this meeting in an orderly fashion, I would ask that any sound on cell phones and other devices be turned off, and I would ask that all members of the audience observe rules of decorum proper to conducting the business at hand. Our first order of business is the approval of our August meeting minutes, which were distributed to all trustees. If there are no additions or corrections, the minutes are approved as distributed. At this time, the board would like to recognize former Ohio State students who have asked to speak this afternoon about their experiences related to Richard Strauss. Thank you for being here today. We have allotted 10 minutes on the agenda for your remarks and for us to listen. Given the pending litigation, we are unable to engage in dialogue or answer questions at this time. We want you to know, however, that the board is listening and hearing you.
Thank you, Chairman Fujita. I also want to extend my welcome to you, and on behalf of the entire university, I'm deeply sorry. Strauss's actions were a betrayal, and the university's failure to act at that time remains unacceptable. Should you or anyone else here today need them, confidential support resources are available. I also want to reiterate Chairman Fujita's words that we are here to listen, and again, thank you for being here, and please begin.
Sorry.
My name is Tom Lissy. In 1991, I received my bachelor's degree from Ohio State. I was a member of the wrestling team. I was sexually assaulted by Dr. Strauss on more than one occasion, and I was sexually harassed by him on almost a daily basis when I was on the team. I came to OSU to wrestle and to get an education. I had offers from other schools, but the size and the OSU brand swayed my decision. Little did I know, the brand, Ohio State, is valued more than the welfare of its students. That was the lesson that I've learned firsthand. I left the wrestling team in my sophomore year. I do appreciate the opportunity to address the board, but I don't want to be here. I shouldn't have to be here. It's come to this. That's what it is. Ohio State allowed a sexual predator to assault me and hundreds of other students. The university failed to protect us, and you continue to victimize us today. There's been no change to the response to sexual abuse at this university. The way you treated us as students is the way you are treating us as alumni. And my concern is, how are you treating students today? That's why I'm here. I'm sorry, this is not easy. What has happened to me is not easy to talk about. I'll spare you the details of how I was assaulted. Those details should be reserved for a deposition. Those facts should be explored in a courtroom, not in this meeting. But if Ohio State, if this board gets their way, I'll never be deposed. If this board gets their way, there'll be no discovery actions in my case. No public examination of the facts. If this board gets its way, those who were complicit in the sexual abuse of students will remain nameless. You're actively fighting victims of Richard Strauss in the U.S. 6th District Court of Appeals. You're fighting me. This is the face of who you're fighting. One of the faces. There are hundreds of us. I heard what your lawyers said in federal court. I listened to it. I suffered through it. If you haven't heard it, it's available. It's public record. You can listen to the recording. Your attorney mounted a defense that Strauss would have been proud of. Your attorney blamed me and other victims for not acting. Your attorney stated that it was common knowledge that Strauss was abusing athletes and students. And we, me, the victims, I chose to do nothing. Your attorney didn't contest that OSU knew, that the powers at OSU knew, that directors, vice presidents, general counsel, you didn't stop Strauss for 20 years. You people covered up Strauss, and you continue to do so. Blame the victims, invalidate our claims and damages. You know, what you're saying is that at 18 or 19 years old, I should have stood up to this university. When at the highest levels, the university was actively covering it up. You know, the thing that you got to kind of realize is that I was groomed by a predator. I wasn't capable of speaking up. And in some ways, I was groomed by this university to comply. You know, this is difficult. You know, I can tell you I don't hate Doc Strauss, and I can't explain that to you. He endeared himself to us. I have pity for him. Doc was a bad man. He was a sick person, and no one stopped him. You could have stopped him. Years before I arrived at this university, you could have stopped him. It was Ohio State's university's responsibility to stop him. I feel sorry for Doc's family. I feel sorry for the other victims. And I feel worse for the victims that came after me. Please bear with me. This is difficult. There's lots of feelings and emotions that I'm trying to focus and you know, betrayal, anger, disappointment, self-doubt, responsibility. You know, I have an obligation and a responsibility to myself and others to speak up. It's my understanding that going forward, only survivors who've settled will be allowed to speak to the board. That's what I was told, that this is the last that will be able to really speak. And what this means is that people who have signed your agreement, which includes a clause that prevents them from speaking negatively about the university, will be allowed to speak to the board going forward. You'll eventually get to silence the victims. It appears that nothing has changed. When faced with sexual assault, you're doing what your predecessors have done. You're doing what predators do. You're acting the same way. Control the negative, or the narrative, pardon me, control the narrative, silence the victims, invalidate the claims through legal gymnastics, lie, shred, withhold information, ignore public records requests, protect the people in power from scrutiny, say one thing in well-crafted statements, and do the opposite behind the scenes. That's what I faced when I was assaulted by Doc Strauss, and that's what I've faced from you since 2008. Since 2008, when you released Strauss's altered personnel record in 2008. I'll just give you the quick rundown here and bear with me. The former director of Student Health Services, Dr. Ted Grace, said he was aware of Strauss's deviant behavior, but he didn't put anything or reprimand him in any way. He didn't put anything in his performance reviews. He said it was policy not to mention serious allegations against physicians due to legal reasons. Legal reasons. Those are his words. Look it up. I'm sorry. Our medical records were destroyed. In 2008, you spent $6.2 million on the Perkins-Coie report. At the time, it was called an independent investigation. You've refused to release all the findings of the investigation, and you're citing client-lawyer privilege. This was alleged to be an independent investigation paid for with tax dollars. The public's we're entitled to see all the investigation documents. How was that money spent? If Ohio State was the client, as you state, how could this be a neutral third-party investigation? Whose interests were the Perkins-Coie acting upon when they wrote the portion that was eventually released to the public? OSU doesn't dispute that Strauss abused us. You continue to issue hollow apologies while fighting us in federal court. Invalidate our claims on the statute of limitations. The statute of limitations isn't intended to reward you for orchestrating a cover-up. That's not what it's intended to do. You killed House Bill 249. That was Ohio House Bill that was going to extend protection to Strauss victims. Past President Drake met with Larry Householder to kill the bill. Oh, the company you keep. OSU provided Kevin Schimpf from the Ohio Alliance of Civil Justice a script of his testimony that he gave in September of 2019 to the House Civil Justice Committee in opposition of 249. Bill Sykes forwarded emails, and other lawmakers did as well, that he was receiving from the emails I was sending the lawmakers, they were forwarding to your legal team. All while this was taking place, the statements that you released were that it wasn't appropriate for you to comment or influence legislation. While you were lying, you were actually working behind the scenes to kill House Bill 249. Congratulations, you did. You'd offered counseling. You mentioned that earlier. I attempted to find that. It's not a resource that it's easy to find or attain. In addition to that, I kind of came to the realization that the last time I received medical treatment from Ohio State, I was sexually assaulted. I've chosen my own path. OSU always mentions the press releases that'll come out will be how you've settled with survivors, and that'll be part of the press release that comes out. Always is. And there's a part of that, though, that you're not telling the public and you're being a bit disingenuous. That has extreme clauses in it which prevents people from speaking out in regards to negative comments or how they were treated by Ohio State. It also has, in essence, you sign the document and then it's somewhere between zero and the preset maximum amount. There was no negotiation. It's a take it or leave it. It's not, it's essentially you have no free speech. I don't know, as far as from who on the board sets responsibility for approving the strategy in dealing with sexual assault victims and us, but I don't know if this is how you'd want your family to be treated. As I sit here, I encourage taxpayers of Ohio like myself, the media, Buckeye Nation, to investigate what I've said here today. Check my facts, please. I'm going to be posting a media kit on Twitter. God love them, the media is a little, they don't necessarily do their homework. I'd be more than happy to help them. Check our facts, check my facts. I stand with other victims to raise awareness about sexual assault at OSU. In a naive way, I think that knowledge of the past and solidarity in the present, maybe we can prevent from this from happening again. November 26th, Buckeyes play Michigan here in Columbus. And I'll be out in front of the stadium protesting the current actions of OSU regarding my sexual abuse. There'll be other victims there with me, and everyone is welcome to stand with us against the abuse and mistreatment of sexual assault victims. You know, abuse is rooted in power and control. You know, Doc groomed us to accept his actions, and he had power over us. OSU allowed him to prey on students, and now you fight us. Sorry. Based on your actions, I can't depend on you to act in the best interest of students and alumni in regards to sexual abuse. The stance you've taken and what you're doing, all you've been concerned about is limiting the legal and financial obligations of this university to the point where you lie or destroy records. If change is going to come to the OSU community, it has to come from the community. And in part, that's a change in that sexual assault, that this doesn't happen again. And we need to raise awareness, and that's what I'm trying to do. We also need to hold administrators accountable for their actions. Thank you for your time.
I'll wait a second here. Thanks. I'm sorry. It's all right. Take it. Well, good afternoon. My name is Jack Cahill, and in the mid-90s, 95 to 99, I wrestled for The Ohio State University, and I also played varsity lacrosse, both of which Doc Strauss was the head team physician for. So any medical attention you needed, it was going through him. Any prescriptions you needed to get for a period of 5 years, I was going through Doc Strauss. And like hundreds of others, my teammates, my friends, my roommates, the family we pick, I was sexually assaulted. I didn't come here today to talk about what happened in the 90s. I kind of came to address what's happened in the last 4 years since we've been going through this litigation. The question I think about when I'm at like a desk at work or I'm in bed at night is, was it bad in the 90s to cover it up, or is it worse now what's happening in litigation, this stall tactic that's just really wearing the victims out? Personally, these last 4 years have been very difficult for me. I never wanted my parents to know any of the details, but they do now. I never wanted, I had a 10-year relationship, and I lost that girlfriend. You'd like to think that people are going to look at you the same after sexual abuse allegations come to light, but they don't. They look at you differently, whether it be like family members like uncles and aunts or cousins or just friends, or if you're in a relationship. My son lived with me. He's a high school wrestler now. Up until all this started happening, then he decided he wanted to live with his mom. That's difficult. And it just feels like an open wound that won't close while it just keeps getting delayed in court. And the university does not really want to make a realistic offer as with a settlement. Other universities, Michigan State, USC, they've kind of set a bar on dealing with this. And when I talk to my representation and they say that Ohio State's offered 1/6 of what other universities have offered, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm not part of a legal education. I don't have a legal background, but I can tell when something's not fair, and this hasn't seemed fair at all. And what I came here today to really address was maybe you guys can make this right. Go ahead and put an end to this so we can put it behind us. The fact that it's just, like I said, it's an open wound that won't close, that really hurts. And when I was an athlete at Ohio State, I took a lot of pride in being a Buckeye. There's a brotherhood to it. And it was a goal. I grew up 20 minutes down the road, and you wanted to be a Buckeye. You achieved that dream, and you kind of think that the university will have your back for life. And they didn't have it in the 90s. I know that was maybe a different Ohio State, and we're trying to say that the present Ohio State is different. And I'd like that to be proven to me. The last 4 years haven't shown me that it's any different. I don't know which one's worse, dragging us through this the last 4 years or covering it up in the 90s. I really don't. But we can make this part right. We can address what's happening now and change it. And that's why I came here today, is to please ask you guys to make it right. That's what I have. Thanks for listening to me.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Will Knight. I'm from Shaker Heights, Ohio. And I first want to apologize to the younger teams I was a graduate in 96, right around the ending of when Doc Strauss was around. And I want to apologize to Jack Cahill and the younger athletes on our team, like Rocky Ratliff, who's now our lawyer, who was a transfer and younger, because I remember the first time that we would get physicals over bigs. We go through the gauntlet, and the final part was, you know, Doc Strauss in the office. And we all joked about it. You know, we all kind of tried to tuck it away, say, well, it's your turn. And when we saw the young kids, we said, you know, instead of maybe trying to protect them, we didn't. And I apologize to you guys for that. Now, how I got into this, I came here as a tryout walk-on. I didn't make it to the state tournament in Ohio. Came out of the Mentor District, which is the toughest district in the country. And I didn't want my dreams to be ended anymore. I applied to 4 different universities and got into all 4. I apologize at the time. Michigan was my reach. And I got in there, and I got into Ohio State, and I was watching a national tournament, watching a guy I knew from Sandusky named Kevin Roundelman. And I met him a couple times, and I just said, that is where I want to go to school. And when I got here the fall, I met him, and I was in an econ class with him, and he just said, I came up, I'm like, hey, you know, I'm trying to walk on the team. And he said, I know who you are. And I'm sitting there like, it's like Michael Jordan knowing who I'm, some rookie guy. He knows who you are. And I said, I'm trying to walk on the team. I'm trying to get this work. I'm trying to get on this team. And he said, well, first you got to go run the stadiums and do that. I said, I run the stadium every day. It used to be open. The shoe used to be open. I'd go there at 8 o'clock, and by the time I got done, I'd be done at 8:10. He said, you're not finished that in 10 minutes. There's no way. He said, I do it every day. And he put me through some workouts, and he gave me, and then I tried out and got onto the team. And then I could start at the following semester, the quarter in January. And then you get the physicals. And they said, well, you got to see Doc too. And you're just like, what? You're just confused at what it is. And there's moments where people rumbled about it and things like that. And then you're in this locker room, which was a cesspool, where we had stalkers and people followed us. There was times that we had a break from Doc Strauss, but we never had a break from Larkins. People do not address Larkins Hall, and that is an insult. Because there are people who are members of this university that were stalking us there as well and doing very nefarious things while we were trying to just be athletes in here, just survive this university and grow up to be young, grow up and try and be in this atmosphere and just being a part of this. I'm the youngest of 7 kids that all went to college. A lot of times in the African-American community, it's not very common. Both of my parents are college educated. They both aren't with me right now, but my mother always wanted someone to go to the Ohio State. She thought it was going to be my oldest sister, Angela, but it wound up being me. She was a huge fan of Archie Griffith. She loves the 60s and 70s Ohio State football teams, and that is one thing. And she wasn't the biggest sports fan, but she loved the Buckeyes, but she wanted one of us to go, and I got to go. And in the years of 2018, when this all started, it all seemed like a hoax at first, because we knew how we had to bury these feelings. And how can we talk about Doc Strauss? We all knew the weird things that happened, but it came from someone that didn't have a great reputation, and we thought it was something else. But then you guys had the courage initially to bring in the investigation, and we started learning about it. But then I started reaching out to teammates. And in the meantime, my father is dying of Alzheimer's. So when I reach out to people and talk to them, I had to learn a technique to get men to come forward, to feel comfortable coming forward. And then found out it being therapeutic for myself. So I would call and I would just say, hey man, I wouldn't talk about that. I said, how's your life? Boom, we'll talk 20 minutes. And I said, well, have you heard about this Doc Strauss thing? And they'd say, that was a long time ago, man. That was it. And this is, and is this a money grab in this? And I said, well, maybe you just should talk to somebody. And we talk a couple more minutes. And then an hour later, they're remembering everything. They're saying, remember this time. And I remember this time. And then this thing happened. I did it 100 times. I talked to 100 grown men about sexual assault. And I found that it wound up being therapeutic for myself. I've had congressmen call me. I've had media people come on my door, bang on my door to try and get information. We've had a president of the United States calling us liars. I go to wrestling tournaments with my teams, and there's other coaches who love this university or love congressmen, and they look at me a certain way, and they feel this attack, and they attack us. We have this feeling that we are the wrong ones, that we are here to bring your university down. We are not here to do that. I love this university. I have coached kids that are still on this team. There are coaches on this team that I've coached, but I have no relationship with them now. It is on pause. Because there's a time where it seems that they had to isolate us. I love the sport of wrestling. And it feels like it's been taken me. I love Ohio State wrestling. But it feels like it's been taken from me. And I just don't know the reason why it needs to be. Because we want to love this university again. I want to positively say they put this behind us. They did the right thing. And I believe it's way easier than you guys are making it. You can be heroes in this. We can all come back together and do great things together. And we can help save young lives. I deal with boys, I deal with young men, and I protect them in locker rooms. I protect them from grown-ups who I feel are trying to do things. I won't accept that because it happened to us. It feels that we're in this game that you're trying to win. And I'm wondering why. Who are you beating? You win a lot. But this isn't a game you have to win. This is one game you do not have to win. I wonder why. We can do things great together if we can all come back together, if you can make this right. So I thank you for your time, OH.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. We have heard you and appreciate your time. The board will now take a brief recess. And extend a warm welcome to 3 new members of the board. Earlier this month, Governor DeWine announced the appointments of John Perez of Westerville, Ohio State alumnus Pierre Bigby of Lewis Center, and Doctor of Nursing practice student Taylor Schwein, who is from Mansfield area. Mr. Perez and Mr. Bigby will serve 9-year terms through May of 2031. And as our new graduate student trustee, Ms. Schwein will serve a 2-year term through May of 2024. Being a member of this board is a significant commitment of time. So I want to thank each of you for agreeing to serve in this manner. We are grateful to the governor for those appointments, and we are excited to welcome you to the board. Can we have a round of applause for our new trustees? Thank you. Now I will turn to President Johnson for her report.
Thank you, Chairman Fujita. And I'd also like to welcome our 3 newest trustees, Mr. Bigby, Mr. Perez, and Ms. Schwein. Thank you for your service. In February of 2021, during my first State of the University address at Ohio State, I said that we owe it to ourselves and to the state of Ohio to be the very best land-grant university in the nation, and not just top ranked, but the absolute model of what a land-grant university should look like in the 21st century. This was not a small ambition, but our progress towards that goal since then has been amazing and accomplished in the midst of a pandemic, the likes of which this country has not seen for over 100 years. Due to the remarkable year we had and the tremendous work of our faculty, students, and staff, we've moved up in the U.S. News & World Report rankings from 53 to 49 of all national universities and from 17 to 16 of public universities. Beyond that, the Scarlet and Gray Advantage and the opportunity we are beginning to offer for a debt-free undergraduate education, we have shown the country how much can be done to expand educational access and equity in alignment with our land-grant mission. Since I joined Ohio State in 2020, we've focused on 5 particular kinds of excellence: academics, research, service and clinical care, talent and culture, and operations. In academics, we set a goal of adding 350 tenure track faculty over the next decade. That's going to allow us to reduce class sizes and to drive excellence in teaching, research, and scholarship. I'm happy to say that nearly 34% of our courses on the Columbus campus now have fewer than 20 students. So a full third of our courses have less than 20 students. And the share of courses with 50 or more students has decreased from 24% to 16.5%, thus increasing our educational pedagogy. We also launched the Race, Inclusion, and Social Equity, or RAISE initiative, which included a commitment to hire at least 50 full-time faculty whose research focuses on racial inequities to make Ohio State a leader in such scholarship. 48 RAISE positions have already been approved in education, healthcare, economy, environment, and leadership. I commend Executive Vice President and Provost Dr. Melissa Gilliam for her leadership in driving excellence in teaching, learning, and scholarship by creating an infrastructure for faculty hiring and development at Ohio State, as well as articulating a clear and compelling academic strategy. We continue drawing the very best students to Ohio State. Over 70% of the first-year students on our Columbus campus graduate in the top 10% of their high school classes. And we have record high enrollment of minority students at all levels on all our campuses. Our Columbus campus 6-year graduation rate is over 88%. That's 88.1. It's the best in the state of Ohio and a full 20 points above the national average. That rate has increased every year over the past 5 years, and we expect that many things we are doing to lift the financial burden of college will help to boost it further by enabling students to spend more time focused on earning their degree and less time on earning money to pay for it. In service and clinical excellence, the Scarlet and Gray Advantage program is one of the chief tools we'll use to do that, and an example of how we are serving students and their families by ensuring broad, affordable access to an Ohio State degree. In addition to the chance to graduate debt-free, students participating in Scarlet and Gray Advantage's pilot cohort are taking part in a formal seminar this fall. They're learning more about themselves, including their personal leadership style, goals, and values. They're receiving coaching on financial wellness and connections to related resources on campus, and they're exploring their aspirations after college. One student had taken a gap year after high school to earn money for her education, but was planning to borrow nonetheless, said that being part of the program is, and I quote, like a dream. I was honored to join 2 course sections earlier this month to engage with these Buckeyes and share some of my own career experiences. And our Buckeye family has responded with real enthusiasm to the opportunity to pay forward with the Scarlet and Gray Advantage program, blowing through our initial fundraising goals to contribute over $118 million thus far to this cause. This outstanding support builds on the record assistance we received from our donors last fiscal year. An unprecedented $740 million was raised in the 2021-2022 academic year, helping us reach towards excellence. Congratulations to Senior Vice President Mike Eicher and his team for an extraordinary year. Our commitment to serve and service was also recently highlighted by the American Association of Medical Colleges. This organization awarded both the Wexner Medical Center and the College of Medicine its Spencer Foreman Award for Outstanding Community Service. This honor recognizes the collective impact of efforts like Partners Achieving Community Transformation, or PACT, on the Near East Side, and Moms to Be, and our health science academies in Columbus K-12 schools. It also highlights the selfless attitude our healthcare providers, researchers, and staff bring to their work every day. We congratulate all of them and extend to Medical Center interim co-leaders, Mr. Jay Anderson and Dr. Andy Thomas, as well as College of Medicine Dean Dr. Carol Bradford, our congratulations for their exemplary leadership. Additionally, a group of Ohio State experts have been asked by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration to complete a review of the agency's regulatory actions and decisions related to opioid medications. This interdisciplinary team will take a forward-looking approach, examining how the FDA might use its existing authority to better serve public health, what new tools and regulations may be needed, and how to better balance the benefits of these medications against their painfully familiar risks. In research, and we heard recently from Executive Vice President Dr. Wong and her team, our world-class scholarship and creative expression set a new record last year with research expenditures of over $1.23 billion, which we anticipate will significantly increase our ranking among America's top universities. We also were awarded 8 major cross-disciplinary research centers with $123 million in federal funding. Our goal for FY23 is to establish another 4 centers, and we already have 2 that have been established. And you heard earlier from Drs. Wong and Dr. Dorota Brzezinska in our research committee meeting on those successes. In service to the citizens of Ohio, we contributed mightily as a key partner of the state's bid to attract Intel to Central Ohio. The company's $20 billion investment in 2 semiconductor factories is expected to create 7,000 construction jobs and 3,000 direct jobs, as well as many more jobs for its suppliers. Recognizing that providing the intellectual capital for the effort is bigger than any one university alone, we brought together 19 other colleges and universities to create a Midwest regional network focused on doing its part to foster the Silicon Heartland. And this was a recommendation by Trustee Alex Fisher. We deeply appreciate the partnership with our Board of Trustees for the successes that I'm here to report on today. You also heard earlier today from Vice President for Research, Dr. Peter Moeller, that construction continues on a number of facilities that will enhance efforts like these and further fuel our research excellence. The Interdisciplinary Research Facility, a place where 18 science and technology neighborhoods will host teams organized by the challenge they're addressing rather than the discipline and department. And the Energy Advancement and Innovation Center, which will be a hub for students, researchers, and entrepreneurs and industry experts to advance artificial intelligence, machine learning, and smart and sustainable systems. These facilities are the cornerstones of Carmenton, our growing innovation district. In September, I was thrilled to join partners, including Columbus City Council President Shannon Hardin and Jobs Ohio President and CEO J.P. Nassif, to announce this new name, which is the brainchild of Senior Vice President Parkinson and her team. It honors Ohio State's founding mission as well as the Buckeyes' everlasting commitment to come together under a common banner for the greater good. Complementing Carmenton is the new Controlled Environmental Agricultural Research Complex, which also opened this fall. It will help our faculty and students advance modern, sustainable food production technologies to help humanity adapt and thrive in the face of challenges such as climate change. It's already setting Ohio State apart from our peers across the nation, too. This facility was a key part of our selection as the home for the terrestrial analog of the space-based George Washington Carver Science Park. And if we're talking about the people and places that distinguish our university, it's a pleasure to recognize our terrific Executive Vice President of Research, Innovation, and Knowledge, Dr. Grace Wong. Since joining our university in December of 2020, she has restructured and reinvigorated our knowledge enterprise, helped achieve the record research and development expenditures, and secure the 8 federally funded research centers I mentioned a minute ago. And she's been a key partner in launching student and community programs like the President's Buckeye Accelerator, our STEAM Rise in collaboration with the City of Columbus and Columbus City Schools and Columbus State Community College. Clearly, her contributions have been appreciated far beyond Ohio's borders. And Worcester Polytechnic Institute in Massachusetts has just named her its 17th president. Please join me in thanking Dr. Wong for all she's done and for our Buckeye family, and congratulate her on her exciting new role. Several other Buckeyes are also deserving of recognition today. We don't have enough time, but I'll just mention a few because there are many other Buckeyes who deserve recognition today. But Associate Professor Dr. Nicholas Breyfogle, who received the first Hubert Weiss Award for distinguished contributions to public history from the American Historical Association. Traffic engineer Dr. Balaji Panu, who was selected to join a project of the National Cooperative Highway Research Program to help improve the design and placement of pedestrian crosswalks. An affordable learning instructional consultant, Amanda Larson, will serve as 2022-2023 faculty fellow for the Open Education Network. We also extend our congratulations to the Ohio State iGEM team, who for the 3rd consecutive year received a gold medal at the iGEM 2022 Grand Jamboree in Paris. Their project sought to engineer a better way to detect and combat sepsis using phages. This level of achievement can only be sustained with excellence in talent and culture, and a commitment to which is woven throughout everything we do. At the foundation of this is our dedication to the safety of our talented students, faculty, and staff. Crime rates have decreased with the implementation of the 15 recommendations of the Task Force for Community Safety and Well-Being, co-chaired by Senior Vice President Jay Casey and Senior Vice President Dr. Melissa Shivers. We continue to meet biweekly to review crime stats and look for trends along with our partners on campus and off campus. I also appreciate everything the City of Columbus continues to do to enhance safety directly around our campuses and more broadly. This commitment is most recently evidenced by Mayor Andrew Ginther's proposed operating budget, which includes significant investments in public safety. We look forward to continuing engagement with the mayor, city council, and other partners on this issue moving forward. In addition to physical safety, the personal well-being of every Buckeye is also hugely important. At the beginning of this month, I was thrilled to join Senior Vice President Dr. Jeff Reisinger, Chief Wellness Officer and College of Nursing Dean Dr. Bern Melnick, and more than 750 Ohio State staff members in an all-staff wellness event hosted by the University Staff Advisory Committee. With a focus on mindfulness practices and low-impact calisthenics, we all learned ways to improve our health and well-being. And lastly, in operational excellence, Senior Vice President Michael Papadakis and his team, including Chief Investment Officer V. Srinivasan, have the university finances on budget and our investments outperforming our benchmarks. So in closing, as we enter the season of gratitude, I want to emphasize how thankful I am to be part of a university community where events like this are the norm. By taking care of ourselves and each other, we create an environment in which each of us can thrive, pursue new ideas, and do our best work. I firmly believe Ohio State and Buckeyes everywhere are doing our best work right now. And to ensure we can continue achieving at this high level, I encourage every student, faculty member, and staff person to take time in the coming weeks to rest and recharge. Buckeyes have proven that we can flourish in the face of adversity. We know we have much to offer the people and communities we serve, and we are confident that we can realize our ambitions together. I want to thank the members of the board for your steadfast support of this progress, and I look forward to our next opportunity to detail the accomplishments of this incredible university. Thank you, and go Buckeyes.
Thank you, President Johnson, for that report. We have now arrived at our consent agenda. One item for action has been placed directly on the consent agenda today. Our resolutions in memoriam, which recognize the passing of emeritus faculty members. Additionally, the resolution to approve personal actions has been added as a hand carry item following its approval by the Talent, Compensation, and Governance Committee on Tuesday. The amendments to the Board of Trustees bylaws were also updated on Tuesday for final consideration. These documents are available at each of the trustees' seats and through our media relations team for the public upon request. President Johnson, would you please present the consent agenda to the board?
Thank you, Dr. Fujita. We have 26 resolutions on the consent agenda today. The university is seeking approval of the following: resolutions in memoriam. Approval of an amendment to the Ohio State Energy Partners Utility System Capital Improvements Plan for fiscal year 2023. Approval to enter into and increase professional services and construction contracts. Approval to enter into a joint use agreement. Personnel actions. Amendments to the bylaws of the Ohio State University Board of Trustees. Amendments to the bylaws of the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center Board. Ratification of committee appointments. Approval to submit draft audited consolidated financial statements to the Auditor of State. Approval to establish a Master of Geographic Information Science and Technology. Approval to establish the Department of Molecular Medicine and Therapeutics. Approval to raise the cap on clinical faculty in the College of Optometry. Approval of the reports on low enrollment and duplicate program amendments to the rules of the university faculty. Faculty personnel actions. Revisions to the policy on purchasing and competitive bidding. Approval of fiscal year 22 progress report on Ohio State Task Force on Affordability and Efficiency in Higher Education recommendations. Authorization to approve athletics prices and fees. Appointment to the Self-Insurance Board. University Foundation report. Naming of the Susan and Rob Savage Leadership Development Room. Naming of the Wampler Family Conference Room. Naming of the Professor Andrew Wojcicki, my apologies, group study space. Naming of the internal space in the Frank Stanton Veterinarian Spectrum of Care Clinic. Naming of the James Outpatient Care and naming of the James Outpatient Care Garage. These resolutions are now before the board for consideration and approval.
Thank you, President Johnson. I will make a motion to approve these items that appear on our consent agenda today. May I have a second? Will the secretary please call the roll?
Ms. Twine? Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Perez? Mr. Bigby?
Yes.
Mr. Matevsky?
Yes.
Mr. Kiggin? Dr. Wilkinson?
Yes.
Mrs. Harsh?
Yes.
Mr. Kaplan? Mr. Von Thayer?
Yes.
Mr. Heminger?
Yes.
Mr. Zeiger?
Yes.
Mr. Stockmeister?
Yes.
Dr. Fujita?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Please note that the next meetings of the Board of Trustees and its committees are scheduled to take place Tuesday, February 14th through Thursday, February 16th. Is there any further business to come before the board at this time? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much all for coming.